My name is Nakia Holmes, and I am the Integration Success Specialist here at Rent Manager. And I've been with Rent Manager for a little over a year. And I manage over 100 of the partners in the integrations program. So, Integration Spotlight. This is a webinar series dedicated to delivering high-quality industry topics presented by industry experts from our integrations program. These companies work with Rent Manager customers on a regular basis and have integrated with Rent Manager to bring you the best possible experience. And here today to talk with us about unleashing the future of smart intercoms with property management is Avi with Akuvox. Avi, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for that gracious introduction. I'm very, very excited for what we have over here to show you today. So I am a manufacturer's rep and a technical consultant with Akuvox based out of the United States. I'm going to show you a little bit of a presentation, explain to you, the real value of what was put together with Rent Manager that's all set up. So here, let me share my screen, give you a little bit more information about Akuvox, which is a leader in smart intercom and smart home devices. The majority of the products are based for multi-residential buildings, and it has a couple other applications for regular residential also, but a large part of it's based from there. So I'm going to introduce you to Akuvox and their smart cloud-based system and how their integration is seamless and makes it very easy, and then we'll go through a Q&A. So about Akuvox, again, we're talking about a forward-thinking company. Everything is in-house developed, and it's really for mid to high end. And when you actually see an Akuvox product, you see from the quality of the items themselves. When you go by a building and you see Akuvox products, or you have it in your hand, or you're touching any of the units that may be inside an apartment, inside or outside panel, it's really good quality. And currently we have over 3 million devices installed and over 1.5 million. So it's not like a small tested and true product line. I'm sure there are a lot of people, and it's very heavily predominant in the New York tri-state area, also in California, Florida, and throughout the US. It's still growing more and more, as well as throughout the world. So it's currently in over 110 countries. Their product portfolio is really, really unique because it could be an outdoor panel, you could have an inside station, and you could have an app, or it could be called for a traditional landline. They kind of like fits so many applications. And also in terms of wiring, if you needed to retrofit and you can't run new wires and you have older systems, maybe like the talk listen systems that are just traditional several wires, not network wire, they do have 2-wire converters, 2-wire devices for inside screens. They have devices for the outdoor panels. They also have concierge phones. And then the outdoor panels, they have so many different models to fit the right footprint of the building. If you chose to have a screen inside, there are indoor monitors for people who want to be able to communicate, or if you're in New York City and it's a building that requires, as per some code, that you have an indoor monitor, they're able to comply as well. They also have access control devices, so you're able to have one system to be able to manage in the building for the tenants. Just to give you an example of like the worldwide projects, in Manhattan, we have hundreds of projects there. But here's just an example of some of the panels and the installations throughout the world. Again, we have very heavily in Florida and also, South America. Here's an example of a building in the city. Again, it's a luxury apartments. Example, this is one of the larger panels, the X916. And again, it has on it, RFID credentials, QR code to let guests in, or temporary, if there's a home attendant, if there are aides that need to come in on schedules and you want to be able to have the credentials, you're able to give out those temporary credentials with the panels. And there's several ways that you're able to get into the property and control it. Here's something a little bit more unique that we had a customer in Florida in a luxury residential community. And again, it's not just for buildings, it's also gated communities because the principle is the same. And so these are some of the panels that they have over there. Coming to the entry, the person was very creative I guess they wanted to be with the feng shui or the design, and it really worked out. They put up your own customized image. And so it really gave a nice experience. Again, the products are good quality caliber, and you could see it when you're working with the devices. It's not a cheaply made product, and the technology behind it is very strong. These systems also support facial recognition if it's application for it. So this way it makes it a little bit easier to even go inside the property without having to have keys or anything. If you register it, it's a good quality system. It's not like something that may work, may not work. So as long as the lighting is not tremendously off, like in a shadow environment, the facial recognition works really well. They have two cameras there. One is just as an extra and like an accessory to monitor the different parts on the face. Data itself that's saved is not a person's face, it's the points on the face. So it's not like anybody's, and it's for their system. So it's not like that could be used somewhere else. So if somebody was ever worried about that. And again, you can use PIN codes, RFID tags. They have some higher level security for that as well on some of the devices. So it's harder to have the key fobs that can be copied. There are some single panel intercoms also for, if let's say there's a back door or a different entryway for deliveries. So it makes it, so many different choices in terms of the different parts. Now, that's from the hardware. Now, when we're talking about its cloud, so it really offers you a full, here all the pieces come together in a community. And the systems kind of get set up as a community because you sometimes have several buildings in a community and you need to have shared access between, especially if there's a shared parking. So this allows the database to work a little bit better, and that's why they've set it up as a community. And you could have a mix of different parts. So you could have a guard phone, which is a concierge phone. You could have the Smart Plus app. If let's say you want to be able to, even as a property manager, for some reason you need to interface on it through the screen, or to be able to have the concierge phone in your office remotely, that's possible. We have a lot of situations that they'll have in some of the buildings. They may have an office that people may come in for some kind of services and stuff. Again, it's depending on the application, but it shows you that it's very robust in terms of how it works. If they need an indoor monitor, if there's a single door button, or even if there's more access control, you're really able to have a full choice of as many things will work for your property and all on the cloud. In case anybody's ever worried, what does the cloud mean? The cloud means that the information gets put in from the cloud, but it's stored on the devices. So in terms of access, if let's say there's no internet, there's still all the information in terms of credentials are saved on the device. So people can still come inside and still have access to the property with their credentials. In terms of communicating, obviously, if there's no internet, it won't communicate unless they have the monitors on the same network, and that's an application if they choose monitors. Now, one of the greatest thing about is when you're managing everything, it's one remote portal for you. And that portal, you're able to have a complete audit trail of anybody who came in, any access that was done to the building, you have complete access to that. The tenants themselves have access through their app to the log of anybody who came calling for them. But as property management, you have access specifically to see all audit trails of who came in the building. So it's very powerful when people are using it to try to track illegal sublets. Again, it has that information. There's a snapshot image saved on the cloud for 30 days. And again, that's part of the power of their cloud. Again, for the access control options, you can use Bluetooth, NFC for Android, facial recognition, and key fobs, like I mentioned, and also the QR codes that you're able to give. That could be either to, like I said, to home attendant, or as a property manager yourselves, you're able to get an application. And in that application, you have the ability to lock and unlock, and also be able to send temporary credentials. So if a plumber needs to come in, you could send him a temporary, credential that could be used one time, two times, three times, certain time period. You're able to easily define that through the app. As soon as it's used, you get a notification on your app that it was utilized, and with the snapshot image. So you have that information. Also on the cloud, you're able to send messages to all the tenants through their app. So in case elevator is down and you want to put a notice to everybody, you're able to reach everybody very quickly in one shot. They'll get a notification on the Smart Plus app. Now, and the Akuvox also has an elevator control as part of their access control. So again, that's if somebody needs to go to a selected floor, if it's multiple apartments on a floor that they have access to, or if it's going into a floor that's completely theirs and nobody else should be able to. Akuvox is able to do that. It's part of their native hardware. And they have a lot of other parts in terms of integration, in terms of security. The camera could be integrated with the NVR system, and a couple other parts on the technical side of integration. A lot of people ask us, and because it's made overseas, yes, the equipment is all NDA compliant to be used. And the control of the tenant traditionally through the management portal, you add, you delete the end user, you modify their info, you have to delete it. On the cloud, most of the time, everything can be managed remotely. And that's usually the technical installation company would check the hardware, update devices, but all this stuff never really has to be on site. Regarding the, over here, we have this all-in-one management portal that you add, delete, modify. Well, the great thing is because of this integration with Rent Manager, you're not going to need to go in and start syncing information and typing in information of the tenant and then remembering to delete them when their lease is over. This is something that, Rent Manager worked with Akuvox and to be able to accomplish. So it makes the life a little bit easier for, management in general when they're trying to A, onboard a building, and two, when you're trying to, make sure that somebody doesn't have access after their lease expired. So as soon as as soon as you're set up with Rent Manager and Akuvox integrated, everything's just done on your Rent Manager side in terms of being able to upload all their information, their data, and that their access credentials and everything gets automatically taken away. So you don't have to worry about any kind of security concerns of somebody coming inside. A couple other things to tell you about the strength of Akuvox system in terms of their app and their background. Their mindset has been all the way in the beginning about influence towards multi-residential. Even that's why in the system that auto trail with the log gives you 30 days of snapshot pictures, like I said, of anybody came in and out. The mentality is how could we make the property manager's life easier on it? So when Rent Manager came together with Akuvox for this, it started something that's really, really great. I hope this has been a good introduction.
And we're going to leave the poll up for just a little bit. So we'll just ask you to vote. And don't forget, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the questions box, and we'll get to those questions at the end. Okay, and back to you, Avi.
Thank you so much. To go a little bit more into the detail, how it works is it actually integrates, the tenant accounts in the Rent Manager database, and it synchronizes it with the Akuvox Smart Plus Cloud. The way that it's working is, so the main intention is that you don't have to really manage too many databases. Rent Manager will deal with all the information that's getting put in for the tenant and the different family members as well. And so this way, you don't have to constantly go through Excel sheets going crazy. Did we export it? Did we get it? Oh, we missed somebody. And then going back and forth. And it gives you a little bit more control because the way that we had set this up is that tenants can't suddenly just create for people randomly accounts. So if it's in the Rent Manager, they're able to be onboarded on it and have that family member. So it's up to 4 family members to have the app as part of the program with the traditional Akuvox Cloud program. So it'd be 4 family members who are able to have the app with their standard fees. The way that it gets implemented, I'm sure that Nakia would probably be a little bit better later on in terms of making sure that everything connects, probably reinforce this. But first, obviously, in Rent Manager, you have your properties and your units set up, and then you request activation for Akuvox in the Rent Manager portal. What has to be done then is all the required information needs to be sent to Akuvox. The certified installers, they need to, on their cloud portal, set up the system, put up the devices, they activate it, and in the background, it gets synced. So here's, obviously, you guys are a little bit more familiar with this part of it on Rent Manager, but, you have your units set up over there. You request activation on the platform under administration integrations available. And then you do a search and you find Akuvox, and then you click request activation. And then as soon as you're inside there, it selects your properties. Now, once you're integrated, you're able to connect all your properties in the future. It's not like each time you need to set up another integration. It's set up over there for across all the properties. So that was done to make it a little bit easier. And I really truly appreciate Rent Manager making that happen, because I've worked on different types of integrations, and each time you got to go back and forth. That's very hard. So Rent Manager has been tremendous in terms of their technology support and their wanting to be part of something to contribute to something even better for a better experience for both sides. Part of the information that needs to be be sent towards Akuvox is like how many units are in the project. And that would be worked on obviously with and the name of the project in Rent Manager. And so basically that's where the most part of it is. If we're dealing with Akuvox directly and not through the original, through a certified installer, just if you had one separately, you would give that information to Akuvox and they would make sure that would be on their account. But most of the time, they would set this up beforehand with a certified installer to get that information from your whoever's working on any kind of property that wants to integrate it. And this is just a little bit of example on the cloud side of what gets added on. It's more on the installation side, and they again add a device with just a MAC address and choose some of the basic display settings. This is a different portal from the management portal. This is more on the technical installation side, but it's again very easy for them initially to set up and put up the information. One of the things that I missed that I didn't mention beforehand is the relays on the devices. A relay is basically to be able to open up a door. Most of the devices for the outdoor panels have several relays. So if you had, let's say, a package room or other things to be able to open, they could be opened and also controlled on the cloud. That's actually a really important thing that I've seen so many applications used for it. When you say activate an apartment, it means that the Smart Plus account is active, and they need to activate it on the side. So as soon as you guys sync on the property, it's going to be activated. Everybody will get emails as a welcome email that will be on the list. And as soon as they sign up for the app and everything automatically, then they will automatically be activated. So they won't officially be completely activated until they actually sign into the app. Most of the information right now that's matching is property on Rent Manager goes towards the communities on Akuvox Smart Plus. And then the units on Rent Manager, that terminology syncs with the apartments field on Akuvox Smart Plus. And then the tenants living in the units in Rent Manager is family member accounts of the apartments. So this way, the total information gets synced on that side. And then after everything's put through, you're able to, tenant lease begins, every day gets synced, and Akuvox is able to add it. And obviously, like I mentioned before, this is a tremendous advancement to be able to like efficiently operate a property. And so you don't have to do things two times or go back and forth. So it just makes it very easy. And the credential management makes life so much easier. So as soon as somebody's lease is terminated, they don't have to worry about going back and forth. They're automatically not going to have any access. So if there's facial recognition or access control key fobs or PIN codes or any QR codes they might have created, all that stuff automatically. You don't have to log into the system and go to a couple of different places. It will automatically, erase it. This adds a tremendous value for a building in terms of like ease of use, especially the past couple of years where people are getting so many packages. Having a video intercom and being able to see who's coming in and out, it's a given that it's a necessity. Beforehand, there was a lot of telephone entry systems, but now video is very important. People want to see if they have a package, they want to have a little bit more of that control. And so it really adds to the value of it. And again, it adds security. People are seeing exactly who's coming into the building. If you have bad elements that are letting people in, or God forbid, or if you have people trying to get in that are not supposed to, like I said, everything's on an audit trail and the information's there. Some of their advanced security measures, such as facial recognition and the advanced key fob security that some of the panels offer them on, let's say, Desfire security, makes it a little bit harder to clone keys. So people don't just copy those key fobs to get in. So they have options also to do several levels of authentication. You have to do PIN and access card. But again, this is all depending on the project. And so we could work out with you in terms of what's the right solution if you have something that's a little bit different. The interfaces on the panels are so customizable. So you could change the wording, you could change what's seen there. The default allows you to see yourself. So people, when they see themselves, they kind of act a little bit differently, not to do something, so they're present towards it. You want to put a unique screensaver on it that says the name of the building or the community. You're able to do that. So it's all a really, really great setup in terms of that. If there's anything that you want to reach out and, we could do some of the Q&A now. Again, my rep firm for the US and as a technical consultant, I'm part of Global Visions Inc. For, sales at Akuvox.com is for the majority of the sales questions, but we're here to assist and and get this technology out. For me, a little bit of my background is, besides being an integrator for many years on the technical side, I grew up in real estate and doing, family real estate in New York City. So I really see the value of the technology and especially the ECUs. And I work very closely with Akuvox to get this impressed upon them, and which they obviously have understood. And it's great to see. And I thank you all for partaking.
Okay, and thank you, Avi. That was great and very informative. So I do have a question for you. Um, how long does it take to get set up?
It probably would have a turnaround time of 24 to 48 hours, just because it's on our side. First, obviously, somebody has to take a look and get the right products there to be quoted out, that it's the right devices for the project. And that usually gets through a certified Akuvox installer. But let's say once it's all set up, in terms of the technical side, it's literally through one day. So your team gets the request. I mean, in terms of you guys approve it, we then get that information to Akuvox, and then by the next day, realistically, if they have the information of what units, what project it is on Rent Manager, then it could take as easy as a day as long as it's organized. If we get at the end of the day, Akuvox has it set
Hmm.
up by the next day. So it could be as easy as less than 24 hours.
Okay. And can residents directly provide their guest temporary credentials?
So that is up to the property manager. By default, yes, it's a premium feature, but the property manager can limit that option if they do not want to allow temporary QR codes to be given. So that is something that management can control through the management portal.
Okay. And is there like a set amount of doors that are needed to
No,
work with AccuVox? Like, do you have a requirement or minimum?
no, I mean, so you could have a front door entry panel to get into like a main entry to a building, and then you could have, let's say, several access control doors, which is just part of their access control product line. So it's just like a one door reader or a keypad. So this way, just makes it
Okay.
a little bit easier, so they don't have to have so many keys for other places, and it's one system. But it's just no limit. They could have one door
Oh,
is fine as well.
okay. And can a reader impose access profile based on time of day? Like, for example, remain unlocked during business hours and locked after hours with access only by registered tenants?
So yeah, so you could set up the schedule. There could be scheduling set that would be done through the cloud into the device. You could set up a schedule on it. So you could have,
Okay.
let's say, if a building's open 9 to 5, and after that time period, they need to be able to use their credentials to get in. That's not an issue. That's part of the functionality.
Okay. And can resident smartphone present credential either by QR code, image, Bluetooth, or Wi-Fi uh, VLAN connection?
The tenants could do it from, let's say, from the app, which are they're connected to internet. So they could have the picture of the QR code saved on their phone if that's one of the choices as well, or they could use Bluetooth to get in. In terms of the VLAN question, I think if that's usually maybe I don't know if a little bit if you want to get a little bit more technical to if the person who asked that wants to maybe give me a little bit more background. If there's like a PC program to get in on the network, then no. The actual cloud is hosted in AWS, I think in one of the servers in California, which are redundant. But I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure about the VLAN question. I guess
Okay.
in terms of that.
I'll wait and see if they expand a little bit on it. Um, I have another question. Any update on when the wireless locks will be available?
So we're working on it with a couple of manufacturers. And again, because of the security concerns and integrations and everything, it has to be stable. So there is an integration that I was told that hopefully will be completed with Kaba within the next month and a half. It has to be functional and it has to make sense in terms of like, it can't somewhat work. I think that I would say hopefully within the next, to be safe, 2 months, that
Okay.
we are working with a couple other manufacturers also to try to speed track it. And then it's going to be even easier because then it's one credential to be able to get into each place, to the whole building. So you don't need to have multiple programs.
Yeah. So are there any more features that are going to be rolled out for the integration?
So a lot of things I think our teams are working together on is the next level, Akuvox messaging to also integrate with your messaging team on that. And obviously down the line, some of the security information. Now, when people say integration, they think, oh, wow, it's the easiest thing, put two data across and you make everything happen. Now, the issue is stability to be able to have everything match between two different systems. In terms of how Akuvox in general is, they're an innovative company. From where they were several years ago, projects that had the same hardware today have more options than they did beforehand. So it's actually a system and a company that just gets better. The application, in terms of as more things roll out in terms of the management cloud, so many options that come out there that, again, in the beginning weren't there. So I'm sure you're going to see a lot of great things. It's something that they're priding themselves on in terms of being ahead of this technology and really trying to make life easier for the property manager. And that's what you guys do also. So I'm very excited. There'll be a lot of good things along the way in terms of the experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and let me just ask this last question. What kind of customer support is included?
What Akuvox does is Akuvox works with certified installation companies. So we usually will make that relationship because no matter what, we've seen at the end of the day, if there's a product that needs somebody to maybe physically take a look at it or wiring or everything, it's very hard for a company remotely to do that. So we have partners throughout the world, basically, over 110 countries. And so we would set you up with a company. There is support for basic stuff through Akuvox, and we only set people up with people that are going to give the right experience and who have done it beforehand and that are certified by it and have the referrals for it to show as well in the projects. So, because we're very serious about the customer experience and the main customer being not the tenant's important, but the property manager is obviously the owner, property manager, owner they're the key. So, and we realize that. So if there's ever any issues, we interface to make sure that the customer experience is taken care of for them.
Okay. And I just want to thank you very much. And
Thank
let's go
you.
here. That's going to be all of our questions. Now, another way you can learn more about Akuvox is inside of Rent Manager. Like Avi said, by going to Admin, Available Integrations, and searching for Akuvox and selecting Contact Sales to learn more and ask questions, or by clicking Request Activation if you're ready to move forward with the integration. Now, we also do have a survey at the end. This is going to be another great way that you can get in touch with Akuvox if you do have more questions or think of something after this presentation and want to reach out. Also, this is a great way to just give us feedback on topics and suggestions for the future. We also want to point out our training calendar, as we do have our integration spotlight and weekly webinar schedule posted there. Our next integration spotlight will be Tuesday, March 12th with Revi, followed by Quadient on March 19th. And then as a reminder, every single integration spotlight is recorded. So if you missed the beginning or want to go back and watch it again, you can certainly do that. And today's webinar will be posted in Rent Manager University exactly a week from today. Now, if you want to learn the latest best practices, trends, and technology affecting the property management industry, then check out our podcast, Beyond Rent. And finally, I just want to thank you again, Avi, and thank you everybody for attending today's Integration Spotlight, and we hope to see you again next week. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome, Avi. Have a great day.